Hello, this is Fritz-Ay says, and welcome back to Lyre. So, I've been told on Twitter that I've been saying the wolf's name wrong, so instead of Leal, we're going to go to Lyle. So, just little warning on that little change. So, we just got done having dinner with the prince and the king and going back to our suite. So, let's go ahead and get started. There'll be the death of you. Betrayal never comes from your enemies, but from those closest to your heart. And it always starts with trust. Chapter 3, Day 6. It's almost been a week since I've woken up. The weather gets colder and colder every day, and I find myself yearning for a warm bath every morning when I wake up. The past couple of days have been pretty relaxing, to say the least. I've had plenty of time to work on the preparations for the ball, and I've been taking it at a nice pace. Well, a pace that's nice for me, at least. All I really have to do is make sure the resources are readily accessible and calculate the cost of everything. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's the gist of it. I've been wandering around the castle with Lyle on my free time. Although I rarely allow myself free time, but every day I do take a break. He's been very good company the past couple of days, and he's been showing me around. We haven't gone to the city yet, but I've been able to explore most of the castle. Lyle has managed to cause my inner child to break out as we laugh and joke while walking through the halls. It's funny how he's supposed to be my guard, yet so far he's been my glorified guide. I do appreciate the assurance, though, and having someone there to keep me company and show me around is really nice. It's a good thing that we get along. I hate for this whole thing to feel too professional. The other day, he took me to the tallest tower where you could see the entire city and fjord. His fur was blowing in the wind, and he had that dreamy look in his eyes. I've spoken to Raynar a couple of times. I'm not too sure how I should feel about him. He's very kind, and seems to have his wits about him. There's still something very intimidating about him, though. At the beginning of every interaction with him, I start things out anxious, but then he manages to completely change the mood of the room. I guess he's just a big friendly guy. I've run into Adrius a few times during the week. He hasn't really paid me much mind aside from the occasional greeting, and I honestly prefer it that way. But the few interactions that we've had where it would be extremely awkward if we didn't talk, it felt more like an interrogation. He's constantly asking me questions about Ern. I have a feeling that he doesn't talk with people much. I also feel like the more I avoid him, the better. And then there's Leaf. I haven't seen him much. I passed him in the hallway once and we had a chat that wasn't too interesting. He's probably busy with his own work, which makes me feel like I've been too relaxed lately. I should probably crack down on my work as well. I get out of the bath and turn off the water. I don't feel as sticky this time since I only used a bit of soap. Walking over to one of the benches, I grab a towel and begin to dry myself off. I run the cloth down my body and between my legs, making sure I get all of the water off my body. It's very cold in here, and I know that it's even colder out there. I dress myself and leave through the door. Immediately, the cold hits my face and I start to speed walk back to my room. It's a crisp fall afternoon, and the sun is casting a warm hue on the trees below. My footsteps echo down the hall as I get closer to the door to my room. I reach the door, and when I open it, I'm blasted with the warm air from my room. When I enter the room, Lyle is leaning back in one of the padded chairs, rocking it on its back legs. I close the door behind me and lean against it. There's no fire. How is it so warm in here? Well, he leans forward in his chair. The castle is built above a hot spring. It's where we get the water for our plumbing. The water runs through the pipes built into the walls, and the heat rises up through the foundation. His demeanor slowly transitions into that of a happy child who is explaining something they're very interested in. It heats up the castle. which can be very nice during the colder seasons. It can be a real pain in the butt during the summer, though. My room will sometimes get so hot that I have to sleep with the covers off and the windows open. I bet that's certainly a sight. That's actually really interesting and ingenious. Thanks. It's also why there are so many plants growing within the castle. He gestures to all the leaves and vines on the walls. During this time of year, plants like to slowly work their way inside the castle walls seeking warmth. It's not really a problem for any of us, and Ranar does love its plants. Yeah, I've noticed that. My room alone is decorated with potted flowers, but I've seen way more plants scattered throughout the castle's many corridors and rooms. What about the plants in pots outside? I think those get brought inside once the weather becomes too harsh for them. That makes sense. We stand in silence for a moment before I walk to my desk and sit down in the plush cushioned seat. I peruse the notes that I've made on some of the arrangements for the food. Everything seems to be in order, so I set it off to the side and grab another document. I have a list of questions and instructions on this parchment for one of the servants to take down to the market. I need to work out the costs of the meat, and I also need to settle the payments for each butchery that provides. I take this document and set it in one of the trays outside to be collected. If there's nobody there to deliver it, it's usually what I have to do. Someone will come by to pick it up. I sit back down and see Lyle is standing up from his chair looking out the window. His tail, which I am now able to see clearly without the bulky cape in the way, wags left and right. He turns to me and shakes his head, smirking. You work too much. I'm sorry, what? I don't think I work enough. How much have you gotten done so far? I've done a lot, but I still have a lot more to do. I mean, I've already finished most of it, if I'm going to be honest with myself. I just wanted to get it done ahead of time. You've spent all morning slaving away at that tiny desk of yours like a workaholic. Then you went to take a bath, and now you're back to work. You really don't need to worry about this. It's not even your primary job while you're here. That doesn't start for a while. He reaches over and swipes my checklist off my desk. Hey! He turns away from me and skims over it for a hurried moment. Then he turns around with a mocking look on his face. Most of this is already checked off. That's only one of the list. He swipes the other list gracefully and holds it in front of his face. This one is almost complete too. He lets go of it and it floats down and lands on the other list. I look at him with a deadpan. I'm just trying to get it done and out of the way. You're kissing up to the king, Owen. No, I'm not. I'm just doing my job. He lets out a laugh and throws up his paws in a defensive manner. Relax. I only jest. I roll my eyes and give a defeated yet annoyed chuckle. He runs a paw through his neck fluff, as if it were a human's beard. I sometimes forget how similar we are in terms of mannerisms. Well, I'm going to go on a walk. He walks over to the door and looks to me. Lock the door, okay? I really don't think that's necessary. Just do it, please. Fine. He walks through the door and closes it behind him. Not wanting to upset him, I take the key off my desk and lock the door. I grab the checklist and mark off some of the tasks that I did. As I lean against the bed frame and scribble on my list, I notice something out of the corner of my eye. There's a piece of parchment on the desk that's been drawn on. I pick it up and examine it. It's a drawing of a flower. It looks like the one on my desk. I assume Lyle drew this, given the signature. I didn't know he liked to draw. For something that he most likely scribbled while bored, this is very good. I place the drawing neatly back on the desk and walk over to my bed. I want to get back to work, but that bath has made me feel very tired, and now I want to do is sleep. I throw myself on the mattress and pull the blanket over me, slowly drifting off. The hallway floor feels cold beneath my feet. I'm outside of some room. It looks like the entrance to my room, but there's something different about it. It feels like some sort of twisted version of my room. There's no windows in the hallway, and I'm further into the castle. My hands don't feel like my hands either. I feel like a different person. I tried the door, but it's locked. There doesn't seem to be any other doors in sight. With this, I begin to walk down the hall. There are no other doors from what I can see. The corridor just seems to stretch on endlessly. As I walk further and further down the dimly lit hall, I can feel chills running up and down my body. The temperature seems to drop with every step I take. My steps become a bit stumbled as the hallway starts to twist. I regain my balance and keep pushing forward. Am I going the wrong direction? Maybe I was supposed to go the other way? I don't really think turning back is the best idea, especially since I've come so far. There is no turning back. Finally, I reach the end of the long and twisted corridor. There is a large archway that leads to a set of spiral stairs. I look behind me, and the hall is so twisted that further down the corridor, the floor is where the ceiling should be in relation to where I'm standing. There's something else. A figure is walking towards me from where I came. They are very far off, and I can't make out who they are from this distance. From my perspective, they're upside down. Or are they right side up? Either way, I'm curious, and I don't want to be alone in this odd situation, so I wait for them. After a few seconds, I realize that they aren't getting any closer. It's as if they're walking in place. Their presence starts to unnerve me, so I give up and step through the archway. I take my first step down the stairs, holding on to the banister. As I go on, I start to shake from the cold. My whole body is freezing. After it feels like I've descended about 3 floors, I come across a figure on the staircase. They're facing away from me with their hands behind their back. I want to move forward and approach the figure, but I'm frozen in place. My body wants to keep going. The figure moves. They begin to walk up the stairs backwards. First one foot, then the next. It's not like they're moving in reverse. The way they are moving looks like they're actually walking up the stairs backwards. I don't really have much time to contemplate this, as I find myself stumbling up the stairs. I don't really know what's going on, but I have a very bad feeling about this. The figure starts to pick up the pace. Each of their footsteps loosely slap against the slabs of stone. I miss one of the steps on my way up and trip, barely making it far enough to gain distance. I turn around just in time to see the figure bend backwards and loom over me. I jostle on the mattress, feeling like I was just jabbed in the sides. I hear a knock at the door and instantly mutter out a response in a confused and tired tone. Yes?
Owen, please open the damn door.
I muster my strength and rise out of bed, trying not to let all the blood rush to my head. All right, I'm coming. I straighten out my clothes and quickly fix my hair. The key is laying on the desk where I left it. I pick it up and unlock the door. Lyle stands in the doorway, panting slightly, trying to catch his breath.
Lord Kadaj is here.
Huh?
The ambassador from Driss. He's here.
How long has he been here?
About half an hour, I think. He was heading to the throne room with Ranar. I passed him in the hall while on my walk, and he asked me to come and get you.
How long was I asleep?
You were asleep.
Yeah?
I thought you were supposed to be working.
I was working, I can't really think of an excuse, so I cut myself off and sigh in defeat, while he smugly smirks at me.
You were asleep for about 30 minutes, I'd wager. Tidy up and make yourself look a bit more presentable.
I touched my forehead with my hand and realized I was sweating. Okay. That nightmare was incredibly bizarre. I never really had cryptic nightmares like that before. I've been getting them a lot lately. Actually, they started after I got here. Why can't I go back to having nice dreams, like the one where I was flying? I grab a towel from the dresser next to my bed and dunk it in a bowl of cold water. I run it over my face and around my neck. Then I straighten out my clothes and fix my hair. How do I look?
You look great.
Nice. He gets the door and holds it open for me. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my lord.
Please don't. I was pleased with how good the cold water from that towel felt on my face. Stepping out into the cool chill of the afternoon makes me regret doing it, though. My face feels like it's going to freeze up and crack like porcelain.
Follow me. The throne room is this way.
He leads me down a flight of stairs at the end of the hallway. I notice that there are a lot of plants growing on the walls the further we go. I can hear leaves crunching underneath my shoes. We're further away from the outdoor hallways and getting closer to the inside of the castle. It's a lot warmer, and I enjoy the feeling of the fire coming from the torches above. Lyle turns a corner, leading me down another hallway with a considerable amount of flowers and leaves adorning the walls. I assume the vitality fire coming from the torches is what's keeping these plants alive. I watch his large poofy tail swish back and forth as he walks ahead of me. He has a funny way of walking where he puts a lot of movement into his arms and shoulders. We arrive at a large archway and Lyle steps to the side, gesturing for me to walk through. What I see next is the most marvelous room I've ever laid eyes on. It's not much in terms of size, but it feels like something out of a dream. Large gold-tinted windows line the walls, casting light onto the floor. The entire hall is teeming with life. Patches of grass and plants are bursting out of the foundation, and golden flowers grow off them like spots of sun. Their petals dance to the ground gracefully and lay in piles on the floor. The main attraction, however, is a peculiar sight at the end of the hall. The ground has burst through the platform, and a grassy patch has taken its place. On top of this large tree stump has been carved into a massive throne. Cushions line the seat, and the golden crest of Tigran sits atop the back of the throne. I see Lyre's banners lining the walls, with the Ossian family crest upon them, and a large green rug leading up to the throne. Lyle and I begin to walk down the hall, with me taking the lead. Raynar is standing with his arms behind his back at the end of the hall, speaking with who I would assume to be Lord Kadaj. Even from here, I can tell that he is a feline. The pointy ears and tail give it away. I can't name what species he is, though. He's definitely not a species that I've ever seen, and I'm not very good with that sort of thing anyway. He's about my height, maybe just a bit taller, and he's wearing a sharp green outfit with a smug attitude. His fur pattern is very intricate, and his ears have fluffy tufts coming off the ends. The feature that stands out most, however, is his eyes. They are large cat-like eyes, and they shine like emeralds. His tail lightly whips to and fro in a lazy manner. Raynar notices me approaching and turns in my direction.
Oh, there he is. Our royal financial advisor.
I give him a nod and a smile as I approach. My apologies for being a bit late. I was not very prepared. Lyle forces himself to hold back a laugh. Kadaj speaks up.
If anyone should be apologizing for being late, it's me.
I'm now close enough that he reaches out a paw.
Please allow me to properly introduce myself. I am Lord Kadaj of Driss.
I take his paw and shake it firmly. It's very nice to meet you, Lord Kadaj. I'm Lord Owen of Erin, and this is Lyle Reed, Captain of the Royal Guard.
It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Lord Owen and Lyle Reed. King Raynar has mentioned you quite a bit.
I look to Raynar and he looks at the two of us.
All good things.
It's true. We were just exchanging stories. I was just telling King Raynar the story of why I was delayed.
What happened? He breathes in and begins to explain.
We were making our way through the canyon pass when we were set upon by bandits. My soldiers fought bravely, but we were out of our element and easily cornered.
That sounds terrible.
My men fought them off, but they stole our carriages and carts riding off, leaving us stranded. There weren't too many casualties, thankfully. But we were stranded in the canyons with no food or water. It took us about a day and a half, but we finally came upon an outpost. I sent a letter to Driss and made sure the outpost would be compensated for the horses, carts, and supplies we borrowed. After we made it through the rest of the canyon pass and up through the northern run.
He pauses, and we let this revelation sink in.
Something needs to be done about these bandit groups south of the glade. It's bad enough that they prey on travelers, but now they're directly attacking royal officials.
He turns to Kadaj and nods his head.
Rest assured, I will do what I can to resolve this issue. My advisor and war minister is away on a sensitive diplomatic mission, and I estimate she will not return for a couple weeks. If there is anything I can do to help, please let me know. Thank you, but I believe that something like this would be best conducted with her here.
The king's advisor. I was wondering why I hadn't met them yet.
However, I trust that you will be able to handle the task that I have given you with care.
Of course, Your Majesty. That's why I'm here.
Here it comes.
You can just call me Ranar.
Bingo.
As you wish.
A silence falls over the Golden Hall, and before we let it get too awkward, I speak up. An avalanche wiped out half of my entourage, and I was wounded for a couple of days.
Really?
Yes.
That's a bit blunt.
He's right. I should have went about that better. I'm not very good at telling stories. My apologies. I haven't really had the chance to tell anyone yet.
How's that?
Well, when you're knocked out for 4 days, everyone seems to find out before you do. It takes him a moment, but Kadaj lets out a quick, loud laugh.
You're very clever.
He gives me a curt nod and a smile. People always tell me I'm too clever for my own good.
Don't worry. I think it's a good type of clever.
Thanks. I give him a smile and turn to Ranar. So this is the throne room. Ranar turns in the direction of the throne room, biting his lip.
Yes, and this is my throne.
It's a very handsome chair.
Yes, but not as comfortable as one would think. Some say that it's the source of all life in the kingdom.
Looks like it. I gesture around the room and out into the hall. Ranar chuckles.
Yes. Well, they also say that the water from deep under the ground is what gives this area life. The tree was cut ages ago, but it still continues to thrive.
And yet it will never reach its true potential. Adrius announces his arrival by walking through a door behind the throne.
I take it you finished your classes.
Of course.
Lord Kadaj, this is my son, Prince Adrius.
Ranar gestures towards Adrius as he approaches us. Kadaj strides forward and bows in front of Adrius.
Prince Adrius, it is an honor to make your acquaintance.
Adrius seems pleased with this display.
Thank you, my lord.
I take it your trip went smoothly.
Not as smooth as one would have hoped. I ran into some trouble on the road. I can explain it to you later if you like, but right now I need of a hot bath and some rest.
He walks up to me and grabs both of my hands in his paws.
It was a pleasure meeting you, my lords Owen and Lyle. I can't say that I've met many humans.
Lyle gives a quick bow of acknowledgement. I can't say that I've met many,
Caracals?
Yes, forgive me. My knowledge of different species is a bit rusty.
There's nothing to be forgiven. I'm a bit of a rare species.
He turns and bows to Ranar and Adrius.
It was very nice meeting you, Ranar and Adrius. I'll take my leave. Hopefully my guards haven't trashed my room yet.
Adrius looks less than pleased as being referred to without his title. Kadaj walks down the hall and disappears through an archway, his tail whipping around the corner. Before anything else can happen, Adrius speaks up. Lord Arwen, I'd like to have a word with my father alone if you don't mind. Ragnar looks to his son with an inquisitive look. Of course. I'll be going now. Goodbye.
Take care.
I turn and walk down the hall with Lyle falling behind me. I can hear Adrius mumbling something to Ragnar as I round the corner. Even with the echoing halls, it's hard to make out what he's saying. And that's where I'm going to stop. So we've just met the new ambassador from Driss, and I'm going forward with this. I'm having a lot of fun. Let's keep it going, and this has been Fritz-Ay Says.